Greetings, gamers. I cannot begin to describe to you how excited I am for today's video. While doing research a couple of days ago, I came across something very exciting and intriguing. The document we'll be looking at today was written sometime around late 2010 or early 2011 as a marketing pitch for Monkey Quest. The interesting thing about this document is that not only does it give details of the various systems throughout the game, but it also gives details of systems we never saw in the game. There is concept art and lore in this document that I, in my approximately 4 years of digging through Monkey Quest content, have never seen before. This document gives a foundational look at what Monkey Quest was supposed to be, an ideal direction for where the game could have gone. This revolutionizes the Monkey Quest community and also confirms a couple of my storyline theories, which is always nice as well. So, strap in as we look through the structural document for the creation of Monkey Quest, and I hope you enjoy. Alright boys, so this is the document. So today I'll just be giving a quick overview of this, I guess. I won't be doing it all and looking through every single little detail, since I think it's more fun if you look at it yourself, and it's really just a neat piece of Monkey Quest history. I'll be pointing out discrepancies between the current game and the old game that is presented here and lore stuff, but for the most part, I highly encourage you to look at this yourself, and I'll explain how you can do that in the part that's after this section. So, enough build up, let's begin. So, you've got your introduction here, I won't go over this. The only interesting thing to point out here is the sentence, you'll explore 6 unique lands. This is referring to, of course, Crossroads Path, and then the 4 tribes we got in the game, that being the Sea Dragons, the Unu Mystics, the Ice Raiders, and the Chimfu. Of course, there was going to be a 5th tribe, the Mek-tek Collective, which was never added into the game, which is what it's referring to here. It'll talk about that more later in this document. So if we keep scrolling, the Monkey King apparently got his whole page dedicated to him. Some pretty neat concept art there, which I believe is wiped off the internet except for the Wikipedia. So I think this is the original source for this concept art. The only interesting thing to note here is if you watch my video on parasocial relationships, link in the description, you'll know that this version of the Monkey King story is the false version that was given to sort of glorify the Monkey King in the lore, as opposed to the story where he actually was the one who released Cot and started the events of the game. This is a super cool map here, because it gives us geographic locations of every single trail in the game except for the Ice Raiders tribe. And it's neat to have this sort of combined map of everything to finally be able to pin down where everything actually is. There are some discrepancies between the map here and the map in the actual game. The actual game's map's locations of the trails seems to be more based on gameplay progression, whereas this is much more literally where it is geographically located. So this map here is more accurate to it, whereas the one in the game is more from a story/questline progression. So, scroll down a little, we get into the descriptions of the 5 tribes. I won't go over these, because these aren't very interesting, you can read them for yourselves, but, oh my goodness, Mek-tek lore. This is amazing. So, this was written before both the Mek-tek, which was never released, and the Ice Raiders tribe was officially released. I'm actually going to read these, since they have some pretty interesting lore. The Mek-tek Guild are hard workers and the masters of gadgetry. Most of the technological advances in Ook come from their innovation and their tireless efforts. The Mek-tek built their home in the volcanic region of Scaldera, where they used white-hot lava flows to forge and shape metals into all manner of gadgets and machines. Their motto is work hard, then work harder. So for all good Mek-teks, when the workday is done, it's time to get back to work again. It's good to have Mek-tek friends when your gear needs fixing or you're looking for a new gadget. It's interesting here that it's called Mek-tek Guild as opposed to Mek-tek Collective, which was the sort of finalized name for it. This seems to be very inspired by the Industrial Revolution. You've got those long work days, that sort of steampunk-esque atmosphere, so it's cool to see that officially in acknowledgement of the Mek-tek tribe beyond random lines of dialogue from NPCs. So they call it the Wild Tribe here because it was the development name. All of the different tribes had, like, I think Chimfu was Shadow, for example. Sea Dragons were the Outlaw Tribe. And Ice Raiders, as you can see here, were called the Wild Tribe. I won't read through this one in full because there's not much interesting here, but it's neat to also see the pre-launch icons. They're a little different from the ones that we got in the final version. All of this is very cool, and of course, there's some concept art of the 5 tribe leaders. Actually, wait, no, these aren't. This is weird. Okay, back up. These aren't the 5 tribe leaders. This is actually very interesting because it mixes in, like, so you have Hardtack and then Kama, Mimi, and Widget, which were the introductory ones to the tribe, but for the Ice Raiders, they're showing what looks like an early version of Sigthor, which is interesting. It's odd that they would do that. I'm really questioning that now. Could be just be a discrepancy since they hadn't fully planned it out yet. But Flit is your introducer for the Ice Raiders tribe in the final game. Here's some cool concept art of the characters. It's neat that we have a location where this actually came from, and I think that freebooter concept art is nowhere else online, so that's very cool. Gameplay overview. Nothing too interesting here. Of course, design is very cool. Questing. They mentioned Maurice. Amazing, a legend, truly the savior of our time. Talks about crafting. Then we get to enemies. So, if you've ever played Monkey Quest, you probably, let me get that in frame, you probably won't recognize this little guy down here. That is a Shadow Boombug, which is an enemy that I think there's like one model in the files for it, but beyond that, it's never actually in the game. So it's very neat to see like official representation of the scrapped enemy here. You can see it has like a little shadow shard within its chest, which is, it's very neat to see. It also mentions here that, I'll just read it. Shadow monsters like the Cragcrawler and the Shadow Dragon have been created by Ka to do his biddings and have similar physical traits like glowing blue eyes and shard-like exteriors. Is that, oh, I just realized now, that's a physical description of Ka, shard-like exterior. That's super interesting. I keep getting distracted, there's so much cool stuff here. Other creatures like the Arachnoid are indigenous to Ook and are natural enemies to the monkey. In this world, danger comes in many forms. So this confirms that creatures like Arachnoids or the Bombbirds were corrupted by Ka, whereas things like Cragcrawlers or even our precious Ograx weren't necessarily corrupted by Ka, but were created by him. So, natural residents, per se, of Ook can be corrupted, but there are also these beings that Ka just created spontaneously. So that's interesting to get confirmation of how corruption works in a sense. Wow, my mouse looked crazy there. So, co-op play. I have no idea what to think of this concept art here. So as you can see, this is Saber, who is an NPC in the game, but he appears to be attacking monkeys as they're trying to go for this idol over here. It kind of reminds me of the super old concept art of, the monkeys being attacked by like a saber-toothed lion. It could be a remnant of that enemy, but I think that dates to 2010 or maybe even 2009. So overall, this is very interesting. I also don't think this wand purple weapon exists in the game at all. I can't really even make out what that is up there. This is just a very interesting concept art in general. So this is the last page here, and quite an interesting one too. There's a lot to take in here. The first, most obvious thing you see is an old sprite for the scrying orb, which I'll put the new and final sprite on the screen. This is interesting. I'll read this in full. Monkey Quest has a level-based progression system where players can gain experience from completing quests and defeating enemies. At level 10, players embark on tribal quests and start to accumulate skill points while they work with their respective tribes. This was in the original game. At this point, the player can visit the skill stones next to the tribal leaders and choose to apply points to a specific tribal discipline in an effort to master that trade. Which, yes, once again was in the original game, but this is where it gets very interesting. Or they can spread their skill points across all of their tribal weapons and abilities to create a well-rounded monkey. This gives the player a flexible create-your-own-class system, allowing them to grow their character according to their unique style of play. A run-and-gun style player will likely apply skill points to the fiery Colonel Blaster and become a Master Sea Dragon, while a stealthier player might choose to apply their skill points to the Chimfu's scrying orb. So, in the final game, you would apply your skill points to each of the tribe's elements to give you certain elemental buffs for as far as resistance goes or pure damage goes. But in this, it seems that you're not applying your skill points to different stats of your monkey, but the stats of actual weapons that you're using, which is a very interesting take, and if it were to be implemented like that, would add a lot more diversity to your builds. Of course, it seems to be planned around a much smaller subset of weapons. It seems here you only get 2 items per tribe, which is nothing like the original game where there is, geez, if I had to guess, like 100 plus different weapons you can get. So, it's a neat fragment of a much more condensed system, and shows off sort of what the game could have become if it had kept going in this direction, as opposed to sprouting out into more weapon diversity. So, it seems we really traded into having more options for weapons, instead of being able to have just a smaller subset of weapons that are super upgradable and super personalizable. So, that's where this document ends, but overall, you can go read through this. I'll explain in a minute how you can do that, but this gives us a really neat look into what Monkey Quest was and how it was really being pitched as a game, and there's a lot more interesting stuff in here that I skipped over for the sake of not boring your minds out, and mainly because I want you guys to look through this yourself, because, I don't know, I love the feeling of discovery after so long of looking for something like this. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this little look through. I'll take it over to my past self to explain the rest of this video, and see you in the next one. So, you may be asking, where can I access this document? Down in the description below is a link to the full PDF of the doc, which is conveniently designed to be printable. Additionally, while I was on my search for this, I found HD versions of all of the promotional content released in 2011 for Monkey Quest, along with some never-before-seen gameplay footage. You can find this in a playlist, also linked in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this look into the early design of Monkey Quest. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. If there are any other video ideas you'd like to see in the future, feel free to leave them in the comments below. You can also join my Discord server, New Ook, where you can discuss any and everything Monkey Quest. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful day.